Mazz, what do you make of the reports of Belichick's contract?
I think they're a lie. I mean, if you want to know the truth.
It's strong.
Okay, so
That's strong.
So when I say lie, let me rephrase. I think they are being manipulated. How about that? I think the language is being manipulated. So when I first saw the report, I said, well, it says contract, new contract, not extension. It said multi-year, which means it could be 2. And if it was during the off season, this might be year 1, which means they'd only have to eat 1 year if they wanted to fire him at the end of the season. So the way it was reported to me left a lot of latitude to interpret the length of the deal, when it expires, and how much money it is. And for such a small report, boy, it was loaded with all kinds of, I'll say, information that frankly allows you to speculate on a lot of different things just because of the language of it. New contract, multi-year, and what is the word lucrative? Tell me, how about just new? Since when do people release results that say lucrative?
Well, let's do this. Let's hear from it. This is Ian Rapaport yesterday, Sunday. He had a follow-up today that we can also play for you. But here's Rapaport yesterday with the original report that got the ball rolling.
Rich, with the Patriots struggling as they really never have, Bill Belichick's job security has somehow been a topic in New England. As you just heard, would Robert Kraft make a move midseason? Would he make a move at all? Now, my understanding is we'll be not inclined to make a move midseason, but allow me to add some news. Sources say Bill Belichick, during the offseason, quietly agreed to terms on a lucrative multi-year new contract. His contract, one of the most closely held secrets in New England. That said, I think it's fair to say there was some, at least, uncertainty or intrigue surrounding him. Now, contractually, he is locked up long-term. And Rich, at least, we're going to have the discussion. This at least adds some context with the Patriots committing to the greatest coach in history long-term.
Okay. So, to me, Mazz, there's two different angles. One is, what is the actual contract and what does it mean for his employment?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So that's an important one. And everyone's trying to piece together, what does that mean? 2 years, 3 years? Did they rip it up and start over? It's not called an extension, but isn't an extension? Does it make it more or less likely that he's here or not? That's a very important piece. The second piece is the PR intrigue and Bill flexing. I wasn't totally convinced. I say was. I wasn't totally convinced that it was from Bill's side. Everyone assumes it's from Bill's side. I've always known Rapaport to be more of an ownership guy than the player-coach guy. So for most of the morning, I'm like, that's ownership because most stuff that Rapaport gets comes from the teams. He works with the NFL network, the same network that Belichick basically performs microphone abuse every time he comes to the podium.
Microphone assault.
Thank you. That's better. So it's not like but I've been disabused of that. I guess Bill does do business with Rapaport and the NFL network. So, okay. So, why does Bill feel the need to do this? And that whole piece, planting his flag, if you will, which I find fascinating, that he's willing to engage in that. And then what is the contract? So those are, to me, those are the two things. And so what does lucrative mean, Mazz? This is what lucrative means. This is back to my point about the sourcing and who leaked it. The whole thing, that whole report. Somehow people up there are talking about, firing Bill Belichick. And so now the greatest coach of all time gets a new contract, a lucrative contract extension. This is servicing your source. Mm-hmm. This is to all make it be put in a positive light for Bill. So even though Rapaport's an ownership guy, and I would not ordinarily suspect that he would be the kind of guy that would get this from Belichick, the whole tone of his report reeks of him servicing Belichick.
Agreed.
Lucrative. So isn't it interesting that Bill wants to play the PR game and the media game? I'm up for that. Sounds good to me. What are your thoughts, Murray?
Yeah, I think lucrative's a bit of a tell that it comes from Bill's side because you hear that because I think it's a shot to ownership like, oh, if you are looking to get rid of me, it's going to cost you. If you want to pay me off, this is a lucrative deal. It's going to cost you a lot of money. Or, look to trade me, and then you could get some draft capital back. But I'm still – there is part of me that maybe thinks it does come from ownership side, too, because they hate bad PR. And it's been bad PR for them for the better part of a month. And, you're going to fire the greatest coach of all time? And look, he might be thinking of it, and I'm never going to believe that until something like that actually happens, because I tend to be with Gasper on this, and a lot of this has been performative. Every time that Robert's in front of a microphone or a camera, it's a lot of sword rattling, and he's upset and rah, rah, rah. But when push comes to shove, is anything really going to happen? Probably not. So there's part of them, too, that are probably kind of fed up with this. Like, all right, let's calm this down, and let's put this out there that, no, he's actually okay. But things could change.
So I'm not even sure the report said he's okay. Like, you see what I mean?
No, it never did say anything like that.
Yeah, sure did. Said, and again, he uses the word long-term. The whole portrayal there, the whole tone and tenor of that report is that Bill's locked up and he's not going anywhere. So you can stop your foolish talk about firing the greatest coach of all time with his lucrative contract extension. That's what the whole tone of that thing was.
I agree, the tone of it. But the actual words.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So go ahead. Yeah.
So, I mean, because.
No. It's fair, like, to identify the source of it or which side it's coming from. I would agree that it absolutely goes that way.
The one thing I will disagree with. So, Tommy Kern at NBC Sports Boston, we have sound from him yesterday articulating this. He's written it this afternoon. Says, according to his sources, Bill's deal goes through 2024. So it's this season and next. And that's it. And that's what Tommy is led to believe. And if I am hitching my wagon media-wise to someone, I'm picking Kern over Rapaport. I think Tommy's more tapped with this team and, better track record. So I would trust Tommy Kern's reporting over Ian Rapaport's reporting, which doesn't guarantee anything. Who the hell knows? So through 2024, okay. So, all right, yeah, they eat a year, big deal. That's the one part that I just sort of stick with, or I sort of push back against. And so here's Adam Schefter. Play the Schefter cut. This is Schefter this afternoon. I guess he does a McAfee thing every Monday or something. So here he is with McAfee, and this is the one thing I don't buy. I don't like Schefter's thought here. Go ahead.
News kind of dropped out of nowhere that Bill Belichick signed an extension this past offseason, multi-year, lucrative. What does that mean? Was that for a coach, as GM? Was it just more money? How long is it? Is this what does this mean, you think? And how do we not find out about this until now, you think?
Because he always keeps details of his deals very private, and details of his deal never get out. And I don't believe a deal now has any bearing on his future going forward. I really don't. I think him and Robert Kraft will sit down at the end of the year and they'll make a decision mutually about what they each want to do, whether he has an extension or not. And they can figure out the best way to handle the situation, what they believe each side is better off doing, whether that's staying together, whether that's going their own ways. And I don't care whether Bill Belichick has a year left, 3 years left, 5 years left. It doesn't matter. To me, they're going to assess that situation on a year-to-year basis and figure out what's best for the both of them.
Oh, come on, Adam. Come on. The contract doesn't matter. Then why bother go through with it? Then why bother sign the extension? Why bother making sure he's not in a lame duck year?
Yeah.
Like, say that aggravates me because it's like, okay, you didn't get the story. This happens all the time in the media world. One side gets the story, the other side doesn't. So the other side just tries to poke holes in the thing. Because if the other side did, this is like what is working against the Globe. That's what it was like all those years. If they didn't break the story, that's not a story. And they'll just poke holes in it versus just going with what happened. And I feel like Adam's getting sucked up in this a little bit. A deal has no bearing, whether he has an extension or a future or not. A deal has no bearing. Then why bother having a contract at all, Adam?
Correct. Totally wrong.
Like, come on.
Yeah, totally wrong. And again, but that is it's a counterstrike that's coming from the other side, right? So, like, I'm not defending Schefter, Mike. It's also if Schefter is in fact getting it from the other side, then they're saying, well, then the deal's irrelevant, right? So in other words, it's coming from ownership.
I don't think that's coming from ownership. That's coming from Adams.
Okay, so he sort of improvised.
Yep.
I think Rapaport did the same thing when he says long term. I don't think it was portrayed to him as long term. I think he interjected that. I think it's multi-year.
Yeah.
And then he took that to mean long term. But 2 years is not long term.
Listen, the contract matters. It's what gives you rights,
sure,
and leverage. And if the contract wasn't important, Adam, why'd they give him anything? Why doesn't he just work on a handshake? Why have contracts at all? Like, come on. Like, it's okay. You don't have to get every single story. And the contract does matter. It obviously matters. Have you seen these coaching departures and the coaching trades and the leveraging? Have you paid attention to what happened here? With Parcells, with Belichick, every step of the way. And on down the line. It's still going on. But Sean Payton just got a draft pick. You know why, Adam? I don't mean to scold him, but because he's under contract, dude. It's the contract. The contract matters.
Mike, how did they do it with Brady at the end? The Patriots.
I don't understand the question.
The point is, Brady is sort of a precedent. They basically went year to year. So why wouldn't they do the same thing with the coach? You're talking about two of the great, like this idea that the contract definitely matters. I mean, I'm just talking about this idea that they would give him this long-term deal. Why? Based on what? Like, I think the precedent of Brady applies here. You're not following?
Yeah, no, I do. It's just it's a side topic. I don't totally follow what you're saying.
Okay, go ahead.
I mean, but what's your point?
They did this before with one of the greats or the greatest at that position. Why not do it with the greatest coach of all time, too? I mean,
My point is, what do you believe?
What do I believe?
What do you believe? And why?
Yeah, I believe that they gave him they stupidly gave him a contract this offseason.
Okay, how
That's
long?
what I believe. It might be 3 years. Zoe seems to think it's 3 years.
I don't.
So Zoe's walking around like it's 3. And the way that Rapaport keeps reporting it, long-term, multiple years. And his thing today, he even sort of doubled down on it. Like he's really strongly sort of saying, no, he's not saying 2 or 3, but his whole tone is beyond that of an extra year. So I don't know. I mean, the short answer is I don't know. I do know it matters. I don't like the take that, it doesn't matter. No, oh, yeah, okay, Bill, we owe you $60 million out the door. No problem. Here's a check. You know what? I'll make it 65 just because. What's it? Those owners write $60 million checks all the time, people, and have no problem with it. Yeah, no, it's just, you know, 60, it's 60? Listen, we'll make it 65. The deals don't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. I mean, we'll figure it out. No, and Bill says, you know what? You owe me 60. Why don't you just make it 52? It's okay. Robert, keep the 8. Like, the contract matters.
Of course it does.
And what they owe him matters. And net at the end of the day, I think it's more likely that he stays now than I felt yesterday before this news. Never mind the win in the game. I'm talking about the contract. The contract does not make it more likely that they move on, which doesn't mean that they won't. It just, I think it makes it more likely he stays.
Yeah, my opinion hasn't changed. I think he's still on the line. I think he's still on the seat.
Why'd they give him anything? Why are you so worried about a lame duck for a guy who's cashed?
Right, if they did, and they really did, like the timing couldn't have been more stupid.
Why are you so obsessed with leveraging Belichick at the end when he sucks? You just this constant contract game. And the Adam says the contracts don't matter. Were you freaking high to these people out there?
The contracts matter.
To Bill especially, and the Crafts and all of them. Like, come on. Why'd they have to do anything? He's cashed. So, like, so they could screw with him on the way out the door? Hey, I don't know.